Hey, and welcome to another episode of Podcraft. This is the show all about podcasting, helping you to create a more successful show. I'm Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com, joined as always by Matthew. How you doing, Matthew?
Good morning to you. Yes, a very special episode. It's out with a season at the moment, isn't it? So, I know. Bit of a trailer park today.
Indeed, a trailer park. Yeah, we're outside season right now, so if you do want to go back and listen to the previous season, we talked on season 10 about how to get your first episode out there. So go back to the start of season 10 and you'll get that full beginner's guide to getting your episode out into the world. Otherwise, feel free to browse through all the rest of our seasons as well. Before we get stuck in, this episode is sponsored by Alitu, which is our podcast maker app. If you want to be able to make a podcast super easy, you want to just upload your raw bit of audio, we'll polish it up, we'll brand it, and we'll publish it for you. Just go over to alitu.com and you can get a 7-day free trial. But yeah, let's get to the trailers then. So Trailer Park, we're feeling a bit trashy today, are we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this came about like inside the Podcast Host Academy, which is our membership site. We've got a community forum in there, and we were experimenting with doing some competitions for the members. So we're actually giving away $50 a month as a prize. So that was in the form of an Amazon voucher, which I'm sure comes in really useful to the recipient of said voucher.
Spent on shiny kit, hopefully.
Yeah, you would hope so, but probably not.
No.
I wouldn't. So with these competitions, we wanted to do something that would also double up as like some sort of training or something that would help people to, you know, in their aims to starting and launching a podcast, to do something basically that's going to benefit them.
Yes.
And create that wee bit of fun and wee bit of engagement. So what we did one month was a podcast trailers episode, because I just put an article out on the site about how to make a 30-second trailer for your podcast, and you know what would be good to put in there, what would be good to avoid. And so we kind of riffed off the back of that, and I said to the members, look, for the next, I think we set a deadline of 3 weeks. I want as many of you as possible to go and create a trailer, reply to this thread in the forum, and basically we'll pick a winner at random. I never want to go down the political avenue of having to pick,
having to judge
this is the best, because that's a whole different thing. But we would just use like something like Alexa to basically pick a winner at random. So doing this, like, there's a higher barrier to entry because you're asking people to do quite a lot there. It was 4 people that entered in the end, which, you know, for what we were asking wasn't too bad actually. And the purpose of this episode was to play the trailers, give those members a bit of promotion for their shows, which all sound great, and also for the listener, we're going to give some creative feedback on them as well. Some of the things we think they did right, and areas that they could be improved as well.
Totally. So just a few examples of what they can do, and maybe a wee bit of feedback. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. Yeah, cool. So we jump into it. Just to give people a little reminder, if you want to go and look at that trailer guide, again, go to thepodcasthost.com/promo trailer, and that'll give you all of Matthew's advice. Wonderful advice, Matthew, about creating trailers.
Do you like how I haven't hyperlinked it? Remember in the notes the last time I started hyperlinking stuff in the text and we didn't know any of the URLs for stuff?
Yes, indeed. So, good noting, good scripting. All right, get started then.
Yeah, so this first trailer is by Sarah of the podcast. The podcast? I was going to say the Podcast Host Academy. It's not that at all.
That's what I read as well there.
Yeah, Sarah of the Postcard Academy, which is a travel podcast. So here we go.
Are you the type of traveler who likes to get off the beaten path to explore the best of what locals have to offer, like cocktails in Colombia, street art in Sweden, food markets in Florence? If yes, then the travel podcast Postcard Academy might be perfect for you. Every week, you'll hear from people who packed up everything to start a new adventure in another part of the world. You'll learn how they did it and get their best insider food and culture tips. Follow Postcard Academy on Spotify or subscribe to Postcard Academy wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thoughts, Colin?
I think that was good. I like the fact that she jumped straight into who's it for. Like, there's a question there. So, are you? I can't remember what the question was now, but it was like, are you this or are you that? I love that in a trailer. It like just jumps in straight away, so people are like, yes, that is me, and therefore I should listen. It just identifies with folks straight away, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the audio was great as well. one of the things I kind of picked up on that you could probably do differently, I'd have mentioned your own website rather than Spotify. Like, it's really good to be on Spotify. You want to be found everywhere, but don't basically tell the listener to listen somewhere. I know you've said anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, but just send them to your own website. Podcast postcard, I could never say this because I say podcast academy so much. Postcardacademy.co, and I would just add a /subscribe and just list everywhere you could be found in there. Send them to that, and they can choose where they want to listen to the show then.
At least she's got a call to action in there, though. Like, a lot of people actually miss that out. Like, she says, go and do this thing, which, especially if you're early in your kind of journey along this, like, you're sometimes a bit nervous to actually tell people to do something. But if you don't tell them to do something, they won't do it. So, but yeah, I think the structure was really good. It's like, who's it for? And then this is what you're going to find, some examples, like some real examples. It's not just theory. It's not just this is what the show's about, but this is the type of stuff you can hear about. So I think that's really cool. I think that could draw people in.
Well, we go to the next one then. It's by Daki, the Tog and Thel podcast, one of the most niche podcasts I've ever come across. This is great. It's a podcast for lovers of Icelandic and Scandinavian fibre art. So talk about finding your niche.
Not just art, but fibre art, and not just fibre art, but Icelandic and Scandinavian fibre art.
Exactly, yeah. So
triple niche.
If you're intrigued, let's dive in.
Welcome to the Tog and Thel podcast, a podcast for lovers of Icelandic and Scandinavian fibre arts. If you are a knitter, spinner and wool lover, and you are passionate about the preservation of ancient sheep breeds and the preservation of traditional pre-industrial forms of making, crafting and living, this is the podcast for you. Join me on a journey to the majestic land of Iceland as we explore the uniquely symbiotic relationship between the sheep, the land and the culture of Iceland.
Good stuff. I think probably leading on from the last one, there's no call to action. So she says, join me, but nowhere to go. Like, no kind of, she mentioned the name, didn't she? Tog and Thel. But
at the start. So that was one of my sort of pieces of feedback was that, like, if I am a lover of Icelandic and Scandinavian fibre art, I hear this, I'm driving, and I hear this on another show, and I'm like, this is the podcast for me. And then the show name doesn't get mentioned, and I'm like, no. So then I have to, park the car and rewind and find the name of the show. So
if you make the effort for that,
get your show's name, especially because, I mean, I dare say in your niche, Tog and Thel makes a lot of sense to me. I've not a clue what it means. I'm not your target audience, but get the show name in there. Absolutely at the end.
Because like, if you say at the start, but nobody really knows what you're talking about at that point. You've not caught their attention by that point, so they're not really. And also, she said at the start. Sorry, I should remember the name. Daki, is it? Is that the name of the person? Yeah, so Daki, sorry, you said at the start, welcome to the Tog and Thel podcast. I almost think with a trailer, the thing here is you want to make it as brief as humanly possible, or if you have a time limit you're trying to hit, get the most possible stuff in there as you can. So with 30 seconds, I wouldn't even say welcome to the Tog and Thel podcast. That's you wasting 5 seconds to something that, you're not welcoming them at this point anyway. They're not in the show. Straight away, you should be getting into the benefits, who it's for, that kind of stuff. And you did get to that. You said, if you are into this, and then I loved the take you on a journey, explore Iceland, that kind of stuff. That was really nice, actually. A good tone there, just kind of drawing them into that.
There's a nice atmosphere, isn't it, with the music and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, aye. So
I felt myself sitting in Iceland with my fibres on.
Absolutely. So if she drops that welcome to, mentions the name early but also late as well, that'll give her a chance to do a little 5-second CTA at the end. Just say go to togandthel.com or whatever it is, and join us there, or subscribe there.
Final note, you added metadata, which was a nice finishing touch. So, like, the cover art is actually embedded in the file there, which you could do, like, really easy in like iTunes. So just a nice finishing touch, especially if you're sending trailers out to people. It kind of organises it in their own library. And you can find the show at, I love this URL, a ducklingnets.com. A ducklingnets, K-N-I-T-S. So
that's cool.
We'll put links in the show notes, obviously, to every podcast mentioned.
Perfect.
Next up, we've got Francesca with the Curious Parent podcast. You're very much the target audience with this show, Colin, aren't you?
Yes, indeed, yes.
You
Let's
are
see
a
what she's
curious
got.
parent?
Yeah, mostly curious, sometimes annoyed parent.
Reluctant parent. Okay,
well, let's not get carried away. Okay.
let's have a wee listen then.
Hello and welcome to the Curious Parent podcast. My name is Francesca Gaines and this is the show for parents who, like me, are trying to raise their kids to be world ready. Have you ever wondered what skills our kids really need these days? Well, you're in the right place. In this series, I'm drilling down into the real-life skills that will help our children be best prepared for the world ahead. So what if we didn't wait until we were adults to figure out the skills we need to be happy and successful in an increasingly busy world? Can we introduce skills, mindsets and habits at a younger age so that our children grow up equipped to help themselves? That's what I've set out to explore in this first season of the Curious Parent podcast.
There we go. Okay.
Similar? See on the call to action?
Yeah.
No call to action at the end, no URL. I mean, do you think they're not putting it in because it's quite a short thing, because it's hard to fit something like that, or is it because they're not wanting to make the ask, like a lot of people are afraid to?
I think, to be fair to Francesca, on this one, she didn't have the URL ready at the
set
moment.
Up, right?
She
okay.
did it.
Yeah,
so I think that was the reason here. So great to get the name of the show in at the end. But yeah, I think that genuinely was the reason that Francesca. By the way, that you can now find the show at happyselfjournal.com/podcast. So you would just want to, send them somewhere at the end.
Yeah.
One wee sort of production note was that, and again, I think this was literally our first steps into Audacity and into production, and it was mixed down with the vocals on completely panned to one side and the music completely panned to the other side. So very easy to fix. Just that, one of these things that you tend to do when you're starting out with your production. So easily corrected mistake, but worth noting.
You want to just export everything as mono, really, in this case.
Then there's no margin for error. But really good, sets the stall out. This is who it's for. This is what it does, and it is a really the planning that went into the show and everything, and identifying a target audience as being first class. So.
Francesca knows who she's talking to. I would. So she says welcome to again, which is easy enough done. Maybe could cut that, but arguably not. Loads of questions in there, which I thought was really good. Like, are you this? Are you that? Do you want to do this? Should we do that? Which is all cool. That's like engaging the listener, I suppose, with the content, which I liked a lot. I think maybe it could benefit from a couple of examples. So Francesca, you mentioned, showing people, drilling down into the skills that we need to give our kids to be world ready. Maybe even list like 3 or 4 of those skills from the shows that you've recorded. Like, because I know that you've prepared. Well, these are all out. A lot of them are out already. So maybe even giving some of the examples of what you've actually drilled down into could be really good. It would draw some attention. And then, the call to action on the end, I think. Just a wee comment on that, I think. So we've got here, Francesca, yours is happyselfjournal.com/podcast. That's, it's not bad actually in terms of length, but in terms of the one before as well. So you mentioned, Matthew, maybe doing, what was it, postcardacademy.co/subscribe. I often think it's good. I mean, for a podcast, you want to make the links as the most memorable you possibly can and as easy to type in as you possibly can, because they're maybe going to have to remember it for 20 minutes. Like you say, they're in the car and they've got to either pull over or they've got to do it later when they're at the computer. So maybe Francesca could find the domain, something like curiousparentpodcast.com, and that's actually just a redirect. So curiousparentpodcast.com doesn't really go anywhere apart from it redirects to happyselfjournal.com/podcast/subscribe, and there's a page there which has, it's just really a landing page with maybe a player of the most recent episode plus a set of subscribe buttons plus an introduction to the show. So you'd have that landing page which really just tries to draw people in, and you have one short domain that links straight to that. I think that works really well because it makes it quite memorable. You can say the same domain every single time, and people get used to it.
Okay then, so our last trailer is by Kendall Ann. This is High Heels and Heartache. It was actually Kendall Ann that won the, well, we could call it a competition. It was. Remember, it was at random. It wasn't, I wasn't picking anyone out of the rest. So
you try to squirm out of saying this is not the best one, although it might be.
It's because High Heels and Heartache, that sums up my life.
It's your target. Well, you are the target audience on this one.
So let's hear it then.
My name is Kendall Ann Bird, and I'm the host of High Heels and Heartache. My podcast combines survivor stories and interviews with professionals to help all survivors in their recovery from toxic, unhealthy, or abusive relationships. I focus on self-care and positivity so that we can all feel a little bit happier in our high heels. Hope you'll tune in.
There you go.
Good stuff. I like the music and the theme and the kind of atmosphere there. It was quite nice. She struck a good tone talking about it as well, didn't she? Nice and slow and steady.
So I noticed, again, we had the slight issue of not mentioning the podcast name or the website at the end of the trailer.
Yes.
So again, your ultimate target listener then has to do a bit of work to find the name of the show. So you don't want anyone to do any work. You want to make it really easy for people. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we don't need to harp on about it, but just mention at the end, link where to go to, and mention the name of the show. Though again, saying welcome, my name's Kendall Ann. I would argue almost they don't really. Right at the start of the trailer, this might be the first time they've ever come across your show. As harsh as this is, they maybe don't care what your name is. They might not even care what the name of the show is at that point. They just not want to know what the benefits for them are at this point. Right at the start, all they want to know is this for me and how's it going to help me?
Yeah. We always say, and not even in a nasty way, the listener is selfish. The listener wants something.
Yes.
So, you need to just sell it to them and take yourself out the equation, if that makes sense.
Yes, indeed. And you can mention yourself towards the end even, like it's say, this show is about, or this show is going to help you with, or this show is going to do this for you. And by the way, I'm Kendall Ann from High Heels and Heartache. Because once they've got the benefit, once they've identified with it, then they're like, oh, well, who is this? And what's the show called? So, yeah, maybe just switch the order almost. But that's good. I like that one, actually. Would you put your name in a trailer?
I don't know. It depends. It depends what the... Yeah, I mean, if the show is totally focused on you, possibly. If
it's a real personal brand show,
I think if somebody's famous, they probably want to do that.
Otherwise, no. But yeah, anyway, it's arguable. But yeah, you could, if you want to put it in later, I would say. Benefits first.
Yeah, and congratulations to Kendall Ann for winning. Let us know what you spent the $50 on.
Yes,
I am
indeed.
intrigued.
Absolutely.
And of course, doing this wee competition, you have to practice what you preach sometimes. So I thought, okay, I'll dive in, I'll have a shot, I'll see if my guidelines work, and decided to create a 30-second promo trailer for our show, Hostile Worlds. So, do you want a wee...
So now we're going to critique that one.
Yeah, you could slate it, Colin. So I'll just play that right now.
Welcome to Kraken Mare, the biggest liquid hydrocarbon ocean on Saturn's moon, Titan.
And this is just one of the places you get to visit and learn about when you listen to the Hostile Worlds podcast.
The Hostile Worlds podcast, which is, of course, a science-based audio drama documentary series that teaches you all about our universe in a fun and entertaining way.
Head on over to hostileworlds.net to subscribe on your podcast app of choice.
Hitting all the check marks there, Matthew, I think.
Yeah, boom. Funnily enough, and this sort of demonstrates how difficult it is, the script for that was twice as long as what you're hearing there. I had to cut half it. I couldn't fit it in. So it's just like, this is quite hard, because I wanted to. The show has quite a sort of humorous angle, and I'd written wee bits in there that were quite light-hearted and funny, which I really wanted to be in there. So there's nothing humorous in there at all. I just literally didn't have any room. So
it's almost like you need 2 or 3 different trailers, don't you? In the end, like there's an argument for podcast advertising being a kind of long-term one. Like rarely people, well, not really, but often people won't click or go to the link on the first listen. It takes like 3, 4, 5 adverts before people need to hammer them with it before people do something with it, because they're often running or walking a dog or something. So maybe you can have like a humorous one as a second one. It's got less of the valuable information and more just kind of jokey. But yeah, you could have 2 or 3 different variations, I suppose, couldn't you? But yeah, I like the fact that you, right at the start, it was right into the content. It was like, welcome to Kraken. I thought you were about to say welcome to Hostile Worlds at the start of that show. I was about to say, oh no. But no, it was welcome to Kraken Maddie, which is straight away going, oh, if you're into space, if you're into exploration, that kind of stuff, then you know what that is about. And you're like, oh, this is definitely for me. So that's cool. And you mentioned the name twice, didn't you, I think? Right at near the start, and then at the end, the call to action again. Yeah.
Well,
cool.
Yeah, we'll see if that gets us any listeners.
Indeed. Yeah, we'll listen to Hostile Worlds. HostileWorlds.net.
So, for somebody listening to this who thinks it'd be really cool to join a community and pester them to run this competition again, what could they do about that?
They could go over to the podcasthost.com/academy, or just go to our front page, thepodcasthost.com, and you'll see Academy right at the top.
Yeah, you could talk us into doing a competition on literally anything.
Yes,
Who
indeed.
could drink the most?
Yes, indeed.
We'll do one of those.
Doesn't need to be podcast related. But yeah, no, it was good fun doing them, wasn't it? But we just found that even though we've got a fair few members in there these days, like a lot of people didn't really want to get involved, did they?
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I mean, there'll be multiple reasons, but it's generally quite hard to get people to do stuff just in life.
But that's the thing about the Academy. That's why we want people to do stuff, don't we? We want people to actually achieve something that makes a difference in their podcast or their business or their life or whatever it is. So these trailers, that's why I liked the idea of this competition. That's why I loved the fact that even though there was only 4 entries in the end, those 4 people made a big effort, and those 4 trailers will actually make a difference to their show. Like they can now put out them around to other shows to, make partnerships, get them out there. So, if you fancy joining an academy, that's our aim. It's always to get you to do real things. It's not theory, it's real action that makes a difference to your podcast.
Lovely stuff. So, we are, at time of recording, we're at the sort of middle point in September, aren't we? So we're kind of mid-season at the moment.
Mid-season break, yeah.
We've been doing you've been putting some interviews and stuff out, haven't you, Colin? So.
Yeah, we've had a few interviews. We've probably got a couple more interviews before the next season kicks off. But it'd be great to hear actually what you want on the next season. Because we've covered all the main topics really now, haven't we? I mean, there's the big stuff we're always asked about is, how to start. So that was season 10. We've got monetization back in season 6. Oh no, I'm never gonna remember the names.
5.
Now. Was it 5? Cool. We had we've got lots of Q&As. We've got the equipment season. Do you know the equipment season needs re-recorded? Maybe that's one we should come to soon, because that was a few years back. So the equipment...
Technology,
yeah. Totally. It's come up to date. But get in touch. Let us know what you want us to cover. What would you like us to answer on the next season? You can either get in touch on Twitter at @thepodcasthost. Just send a couple of little tweets there. Let us know what you want us to cover. Or email in, as always, if you want to ask us questions about the Academy, about Alitu, or anything else, go to info@thepodcasthost.com. We can't really answer, general podcasting questions there, but we can direct you towards the best resource.
And one final thing before we get out the door, the link for the promo trailer article, the guide for doing your own promo trailer, is the postcard Academy /promo trailer. The podcasthost.com /promo trailer. I'm done because my mouth doesn't work.
Well, we're supposed to record another 5 episodes after this or something, aren't we? So that's kind of scuppered.
Don't have to be coherent.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. Again, if you want to try out Alitu, sponsor of this episode, alitu.com. Turn your raw audio into polished, branded, published podcast episodes, and we can help you edit over there as well. So go over to alitu.com, alitu.com, and get your 7-day free trial. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode. Hope to hear from you about what you want to hear on that. Otherwise, enjoy your week. See you next time.